with coverage you can count on. This is WNEMTV5 News.
All buildings for Oxford community schools will be closed the rest of this week. On its website, the district says law enforcement cleared school buildings after a potential threat, but will stay closed so they consider the current needs and emotional well-being of the school community. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this noon. I'm Blake Keller. Students have not returned to Oxford High School since the shooting that claimed the lives of 4 students and injured 6 students and a teacher late last month. The District Board of Education held its first meeting since that shooting last night, and administrators introduced policies to emphasize safety in the future. The district announced they will take a zero-tolerance policy towards threats going forward. Students will be removed from the school until a mental health evaluation can be completed. Law enforcement will also be present in all district schools, and a newly hired security firm will make sure security guards are stationed in each building. Backpacks will not be allowed in schools, and the district is working with a vendor to offer clear ones instead. And new developments in the case of a notorious killing in Shiawassee County. A status conference scheduled for Mark Latunsky today. He's accused of murdering 25-year-old Kevin Bacon. It happened about 2 years ago. Bacon's remains were found in a hidden room in Latunsky's basement. That hearing is at 1:15. New at noon, the Genesee County Board of Commissioners is hosting a press conference at this hour to announce a major purchase. The county will buy the University Tower building in downtown Flint from the University of Michigan for $8.5 million. The county will get a $10 million grant from the C.S. Mott Foundation to help with the purchase and renovation of the building. The county plans to shift several departments into that tower and other vacant spaces downtown. More than 350 county employees are expected to work in the tower once renovations are finished. The county aims to occupy the building in 2023. Stay with TV5 as we continue to follow this developing story. Still unfolding, the congressional committee investigating the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol has interviewed more than 300 people. But Mark Meadows, President Trump's former chief of staff, could now face criminal charges after he refused to comply with subpoena to show up and testify. Natalie Brand has the details from Capitol Hill.
The January 6th committee is showing no signs of slowing down, with more depositions scheduled Wednesday after a late night on the House floor.
The resolution is adopted.
In a near-party line vote, members voted to hold Mark Meadows, the former North Carolina congressman who became President Trump's chief of staff, in criminal contempt of Congress.
Treating Mark Meadows as a criminal. Mark Meadows is our former colleague. He is a good man, and he is my friend.
Democrats read text messages, which Meadows had previously turned over to the committee.
Check your signal. Those signal messages are encrypted. Only Mr. Meadows can tell us what they said, so we'd like to ask him about that.
But he refused to sit for a deposition and supply additional documents, citing executive privilege.
I have consistently, from day one, said I would protect that executive privilege.
It's not just senior Trump administration officials that the January 6th committee wants to interview. They're also talking to organizers and individuals connected to the events of that day.
How it turned out was not what we had anticipated.
Dustin Stockton, who helped organize rallies leading up to January 6th, talked to CBS News after giving hours of testimony to the committee Tuesday. He says he was not at the Capitol, but feared events had the potential for turning violent, and says he escalated those concerns to the White House.
When the president said, now we're going to go walk to the Capitol, it was a devastating moment because I knew that they weren't prepared.
Stockton's fiancée, Jennifer Lawrence, is scheduled to give her deposition to the committee this morning. Natalie Brent, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
All right, here's a live look out over downtown Bay City and Saginaw. We see it's another wet one out there, but it's definitely feeling mild, trending upwards at least. So how high could our temperatures reach? Joining us now from the First Warn 5 Weather Center is meteorologist Matthew Mondro. Hey, Matthew.
Hey there, Blake. Temperatures, yes, continuing to increase. We'll be in the middle and upper 50s by the evening tonight.
Nice.
So continuing to warm up, and even during the overnight. And Blake, I've got to tell you, we've got a shot at 60 degrees early tomorrow.
In the morning?
Yes, in the morning, kind of like what we saw on Saturday this past weekend, but still keeping an eye for that wind potential as well. That's going to be the major point as we go into the forecast for the overnight hours tonight, especially, and into our Thursday morning. With that cold front eventually moving through to drop those temperatures back down, we'll be seeing stronger wind gusts once again, similar to what we saw on Saturday. Now, here in the First Warn 5 Sky Tracker, we're actually all dry out there right now. Just some of that haze off in the distance and really just stuck under overcast skies. We're even seeing some patchy fog coming up in our northern row of counties and also out in Clare County and Isabella County. So if you're headed out for lunch in those areas specifically, you'll just be on the lookout for some of those reduced visibilities. But already warming up, 51 in Saginaw, we have 49 in Elma, 48 in Flint, and 45 over in Bad Axe with a southerly wind that's still sustained anywhere from 5 to 15 miles per hour. Now those wind gusts will continue to increase through the rest of the afternoon and the evening as well, gusting up as high as 30 miles per hour and even higher into the overnight hours for tonight. I'll break down all of that for you and we'll take a look at those wind alerts coming up in the full forecast.
All right, sounds good. Matthew, thank you. Well, across Michigan, state lawmakers approved an additional $840 million, mostly to fight COVID-19. Now, members of the Senate and House voted in favor of the measure late last night, while the state wrestles with some of the highest COVID-19 infection and hospitalization rates in the country. The bill includes $736 million in federal pandemic aid. It will fund COVID screening and testing at schools all across the state. It also offers relief for airports and emergency rental aid. Well, an all-time great makes his big return. Coming up, Michael Jordan is once again on a Wheaties box. But if you want to get your hands on one, it'll cost you. And can vegetarian options sway some meat eaters? We take a look at new research in your health. Those stories and much more ahead as TV5 News at noon continues in just a moment. And for the latest news and weather, download the TV5 mobile app. It's in the App Store or on Google Play. Just search WNEM. In dollars and cents, the top brass at the nation's major airlines head to Capitol Hill today. The heads of American, United, Southwest, and Delta will testify before a Senate committee about recent flight cancellations and staffing problems, despite a more than $50 billion bailout during the pandemic. American Airlines plans to hire 18,000 workers next year, while Southwest will add more than 8,000 employees. Well, parents who depend on the child tax credit program could potentially get their last check today. The future of the benefit remains in limbo as Congress debates the Build Back Better Act, which would include a one-year extension of the monthly payments. The IRS advised lawmakers pass the legislation by December 28th in order for those payments to continue in January. And there's a shiny new Wheaties box out there featuring a very familiar face. Michael Jordan back on the box for a record 19th time as part of the company's 100th anniversary. Of course, the gold foil box is already sold out on the Wheaties website, but a few have popped up on eBay, selling for $100 a box.